A lot of you wanted to know what I was going to do with the old no prep car when I got the DR10M. Well, here it is. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. You know, I also teased a lot what I was going to be doing with these SSD bead locks that I took off of my no prep car, and well, you should have seen the title and thumbnail by now. We're going to be making a sand drag build. Well, more like off-road drag. I don't have a whole lot of sand near me, but there's a whole lot of dirt fields, lots of headlands, loose dirt. These J-Concepts, animals, paddles, tires should cut through that dirt really well. It looks like they'll fit nicely on the SSD bead locks. I may have to trim out some ribbing on the inside, but I'll see when I go ahead and mount those bead lock rings. We're also going to have to change up the suspension a bit on the old car and do some things to get that body mounted. First thing I want to do is get the suspension set up right. That way we can put the wheels and tires on and then see where that body's going to need to fit. Running in no prep, obviously we wanted these really short shocks. We wanted to keep the weight as low as possible. Basically, the goal was just to keep the car as low as possible, keep that center of gravity low. The front end didn't have a whole lot of suspension travel at all. It was pretty soft. The rear, we had sort of a stiff rear suspension. That allowed that weight to transfer, but just not too quickly. And we're gonna basically want sort of the same thing with this off-road sand drag car. The weight's still gonna be pretty low, just not as low. We're gonna be off-road. I'm still gonna want that weight to transfer from front to rear. We're just gonna have a lot more suspension travel. So we'll be getting rid of these short B5M front shocks and we'll be replacing them. So what will we replace them with to get that long travel suspension? Well, I found some old SMT10 shocks that I had, and even compressed, these are already longer than the B5M shocks. Probably a lot longer than we need, but I want long travel, so we're gonna try these out. This will basically be experimenting. This is a custom build. In the front, this shouldn't be too much of an issue. We'll just install these like normal. We'll have a whole lot of travel. In the rear, we're gonna have travel, but we're probably gonna have to limit that with the factory stock drive shafts. These are fixed drive shafts. They're not telescoping like you'd normally see on a Bash or a monster truck, something with a lot of suspension travel. I do have an idea to be able to run a telescoping shaft back there, but I'm not quite sure if it's actually gonna work, and I don't have the parts to try it right now. I'll have to order those. But for now, we're gonna be pulling off all of this old drag racing stuff, the body mount, the shock tower extenders, the front body mount, everything, and just get these shocks installed. I'm not quite sure what springs I'm gonna run yet. I have some old springs from the SC5M rear shocks, as well as some old SMT springs. I believe some old Traxxas Stampede springs as well. I'm just gonna try a bunch of things and see what'll fit best with this chassis and give me the suspension travel that I'd like. You're gonna have to bear with me. It's been a while since I did a full custom build like this. Without really having a plan for what I'm doing or modeling anything in 3D or any of that kind of stuff, you can see my workbench is a complete mess right now. I've been trying to figure out this suspension over the past couple of days because I really want to get that cleaned up and finished. That way we could figure out how to mount the body on it, where the body should sit ride height wise, get the wheels and tires on, and hopefully have a rolling chassis by the end of this video. You may be able to see in the back here, I ditched the SMT10 shocks. They're just a little too long. You can see even all the way bottomed out here, I'm already basically at the mounting points. So I went with the Traxxas shocks. I want to say these were from an Emax. I really don't even remember. These were the very first shocks I ever used on my first solid axle monster truck build, way before I even started YouTube actually. You can see I've removed my shock tower extensions as well as the wheelie bar for now and that original body mount. We're gonna put all of that stuff back later, minus the wheelie bar. I don't know if we're gonna run a wheelie bar on this, but I have those Traxxas shocks. I have a thick collar, and I believe these were Associated springs. I really have no clue. They're a white spring. I wanted something pretty soft, and that was the softest spring I had that fit these shocks. You can see I'm maxed out on the extension on the travel of the shocks and the suspension in the rear. For now, I think that's good, especially with these stock drive shafts. Over in the front, you can see I have one loose. We're gonna actually go through and finish this one off, but you can see the other side is actually together, all the way maxed out. We have a good bit of travel in the front here. I went ahead and used those shock tower extensions from the rear and just flipped it around, pointing upwards instead, so I could still use those big long shocks. I only went with a smaller collar up here. That way I have some droop in this front suspension. That way, once the weight of the whole entire truck is sitting on the ground, it should kind of rest almost level, parallel to the ground. And as we're going over bumps and stuff like that, the suspension should soak everything up really well. That's all settled out now. With the suspension finished up for now, we're gonna move on to the wheels. You can see I have one of these SSD bead locks wrapped in those J Concepts Animals tires. I'm gonna put the other one on, that way we can throw the wheels and tires on and see how this thing sits. It's time to throw some wheels on now and see about where we're sitting. For the front, I have some new tires, but I haven't gotten a chance to pull off the old tires from these SSD wheels just yet. So just to get us a little mock-up, we're gonna leave these on. Picked up some J Concepts Rips tires, which should be about the same size. So these will give us a good idea of where we're gonna be sitting at. Well, that's a big change in ride height from a no prep car, huh? That ride height is obviously going to change once we start adding things like electronics and a body and all. Body is next up. To get that mounted up, I wanted something that would be sort of scale, give me some very cool shots when we get out in the field and start running this thing. I seen this video online of a Chevy Blazer that was like slammed to the ground. It had a whole lot of suspension travel with some sand paddles on the back, and it looked really cool. I'm just noticing I mounted these backwards. It should be flipped around. Please don't crucify me in the comments below. All right, all better. Back to the body now. I really wanted to try to replicate that Blazer that I seen online, but couldn't find a body that really fit the wheelbase and the width. Even if I switched back out to the buggy chassis, I couldn't find nothing I was happy with. So I just looked around at different bodies, what I thought would look cool. And well, I found this thing here. This is the Proline Power Wagon body. It's a two-piece Lexan body, has a whole lot of scale detail. This is made for trail truck, even some light buckets that I'm missing as of now. I've seen some off-road King of the Hammers builds and stuff like that before using a Dodge Power Wagon, so I figured this would be kind of cool. Not sure if we're gonna keep these front fenders or not. We're gonna try to keep it scale and looking cool. Maybe even have some of those suspension parts sticking up through the body, through the bed or front. We'll see once we start getting things mounted. It's obviously not gonna sit like this. When we're looking at bottoming out the suspension in the rear, that's bottomed out, and you can see we still have a little clearance, not much, but just a little clearance before those tires. So the rear might end up sitting kind of high. The front, I think we're gonna have to do some trimming and stuff to make it fit like I want. I don't want this much rake to the body. So we have some playing around to do there, figuring out some body mounts, but this should be really fun. It should look really cool. I may have to fill out these front fenders a little more with a different wheel and tire set, but off the bat, I'm really liking this look. I think it'll look awesome. Let's figure out how to get that body mounted. Notice anything different? You might not have been expecting that, but you might be able to see we went back to a shorter wheelbase. We went back to the buggy chassis. As many of you know if you've been following along from the beginning, my no prep car started out as an Associated B5M. This is the original chassis. And I swapped out an SC5M chassis into it to get that extended wheelbase that we know in no prep. To get this body mounted like I wanted, that wheelbase was a little too long. We actually did some modification to the body as well. So first thing I did was cut some slots in the bed of the truck here. That way my shock tower fits and I could get the body sitting about the right level that I wanted. We have full range of travel. I'm gonna end up trimming these fenders just a little bit so the paddles don't hit them. The front section of the body was a little far forward. The wheel wasn't directly in the center of the wheel well like I would have liked. This Proline Power Wagon body comes in two pieces. The bed and the cab are separate. This is actually the extra piece of plastic that's on the back of the cab when you buy the body. And this is where it bolts up normally from the factory. And it gives you an extra 1/4 to 1/2 inch of space here. It puts a little bit of space in between the cab and the body. That wasn't really gonna work out. I wanted that front wheel to be as close to the center as possible of this fender well. So I went ahead and trimmed out that part of the body, put some new holes in and bolted it back together. The bed's just closer to the cab now. It still fits nicely. Everything seems good. Got some travel here. We might end up cutting these fenders off. I'm not quite sure yet. That leads me to the mounting of the body like I said I was gonna do. The reason why I don't have any body mounts on here yet is because I couldn't really decide what I want to do just yet. That's where you guys come in. I have the original body posts that were on my no prep car. So I could drill some holes, put body posts in here, maybe make some new mounts. Or I could look at doing something that'll be a little more clean, a little more discreet. I have magnets I could use. I could go Velcro, maybe even like Proline's screw-on body mount system. All of those different body mounting options. I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. So you guys leave a comment down below. Let me know what kind of body mounts you would put on this truck. Should I go super scale where you don't see anything, or the ease of just pulling body clips out and pulling it off? After that, this truck may need some sort of front bumper, so I need to look into that. We have to get electronics installed, do some body painting, and then get this thing out there and see what it'll do. I think this will be pretty fun. I've had this idea for a little while now, and it's kind of cool to finally see a body sitting on this thing. So make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments below if you think I'm doing this old car justice by repurposing it into an off-road drag truck. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any updates on this thing as they come in the coming weeks. And as always, thanks again for watching. Peace.